So going to quickly explain to you how to use gradient mesh tool. What gradient mesh does is allow you to make more photorealistic type images by sectioning off shapes and being able to shade those areas in different colors. So what we're essentially going to do is make a circle, break it up into a bunch of different sections, and then sample this original image color in order to colorize the shape that we're making. So there's a couple palettes you definitely need to have up, or windows. Definitely need your layers palette. This navigator tool is kind of nice so you can actually see what's happening when you're working in outline mode. And then your toolbar, you'll need a couple tools, but mainly the gradient mesh and the direct selection. First step is you want to just take your layer and turn it into a template mode. This will allow you to see an image when you are tracing over something in outline. So this is a key step. The image that you're working with, and I just opened this up in Illustrator. I found this picture online, opened it in Illustrator, now I'm turning it to a template layer. So this is now a shaded version of the original photo, and I'm going to trace over it. So I make a new layer, and this new layer I will draw out a circle and then start breaking it down into sections to sample the different shades on this ball. So I'm going to draw a simple circle tool starting from the center, and you can adjust accordingly your shape, get it to fit as close to that shape as possible. Your default color settings put a white fill and a black outline. We don't want an outline or a stroke, so we'll just change it to none. Leave it as a white fill is fine, because once we go to outline mode we won't see that anymore regardless. So I'm just trying to kind of get that as close as possible to the original shape, and now is where I'll switch in between outline mode, and that's done by hitting Command Y on your keyboard. Command Y, and you'll notice it says right up here if you're in outline mode or not. You can also get it from here under preview. So you're working in outline mode. What that does is basically take any shape and just turn it to a line, an outline of that, so you can see the template layer beneath that. If I never made this a template layer, that ball would disappear, that image would disappear. So it's essential to make a template layer when you're working in outline mode. Now I want to start adding some sections to this. So I'll start by clicking in the center point of the shape, and that breaks my circle into different sections. By the way, you don't have to use simple shapes. You can draw these shapes with the pen tool and still break it up the same way. It automatically adds handles and anchor points that you can click and drag and move and adjust all of these sections, and I can add more or less sections to this ball. This is a real simple one, so I don't need to do too many different sections here, but just to show you how it works, I kind of want to look for the different areas of shade on the ball. So you'll see a much lighter area up top here, so I definitely want to add a mesh up top, maybe right here, so we can slowly kind of fade it in. One on the bottom. There's definitely one kind of in this area here, so I'm going to just break this up a little bit. And you can do the same thing vertically as well. You'll notice when I make a new section, I have to click on a line that's already there. So here, 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 okay? So now all of these different areas I can isolate and shade. And the main tool you're going to use is, like I mentioned before, your direct selection and your eyedropper. Eyedropper will allow you to sample the color in the original image, and the direct selection will allow you to select those different areas. And I do that by clicking these anchor points here. Okay. You'll notice when I click on or off an anchor point, it becomes highlighted like that, solid red. That means I have this area selected and I can sample a new color. The other thing too is you want to not have to keep going back to the toolbar to switching, so I recommend keeping on your eyedropper, and then if you hold down Command, it switches to the direct selection, so you can easily swap in between the two. There's also some other nice tools, this lasso selection tool. So if you know this whole area is all one shade, I can just quickly just draw around it and select that whole section there. Okay, so instead of having to do each little anchor point one by one. So I'm going to select this portion of the ball down here, and you'll see as I click, each one is getting highlighted or selected. You can also do multiple selections by holding down the Shift key. And now I switch to my eyedropper and click, and it should sample. You'll see it start filling in here on your navigator palette. So I'm going to go to the next row and select these. Eyedrop it, and you'll see those shades start to take place. Okay. Now when you're breaking this off into different areas, I recommend don't do everything all at once. You want to break it off into sections. So do one little portion at a time so that you can get a true sample of that color. So I'll just kind of scroll across here and do one little area at a time. You'll notice in my navigator palette it starts to change. And just kind of work your way up. Go through the different shapes and pieces here until you have that ball looking closer to what it should look like. And you can always add more mesh points or less mesh points and adjust these mesh points accordingly. It's something that takes a little bit of time, but the final result is something really nice for your final work. And just you want to try to sample a good spot in the ball when you're trying to grab these colors so that it stays true to the original color. So now you can kind of see that happening here. If I go Command Y, I can kind of check out where I'm at. You see these different shades. If there's areas that need to be fixed or cleaned up, not a problem. You can go and resample and adjust. And remember too that you can always just grab and move and bend and shape this to adjust if you need to. So that is the basics with the gradient mesh. Kind of a cool way to do some nice shading on pieces. Takes a little bit of practice, but you can build your images by level of difficulty. Start with something simple and then work your way up.